Parents in a Texas school district are livid and taking action after a fourth grade teacher read Call Me Max, a book that follows a young boy's journey who identifies as transgender. Joining us now to discuss the latest crisis in the classroom is Nicole Neily, president and founder of Parents Defending Education. Nicole, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So the Amazon description of Call Me Max states that when Max starts school, the teacher hesitates to call out the name on the attendance sheet. Something doesn't seem to fit. Max lets her know the name he wants to be called by, a boy's name. This begins Max's journey as he makes new friends and reveals his feelings about his identity to his parents. And according to Amazon, this book is intended for children ages 5 to 8. So what do you make of the teacher reading this book in a classroom there of elementary school students?
Sure. Well, parents are upset with it, and this is the kind of book that, the kind of content that Governor DeSantis's recently signed law would prohibit, because there are a lot of parents who don't want their 5 to 8-year-olds learning about topics like this. They're talking about LGBT before they know their ABCs, and I think for a lot of families that's deeply questionable, because talking about reproduction, talking about sex, those are conversations that should be held with the family at an older age. And so we're starting to plant these ideas and talk about sex in a way that many students and children are just not ready for.
Well, in response to parents' complaints, the school district did release this statement saying, quote, the book list and book in question were not recommended by the DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. The DEI committee was not even aware the book list had been circulated. So even the board was not made aware that the teacher was recommending this book to the students. So shouldn't they, at the very least, be aware of what reading materials are being recommended in the classroom? And is this the norm in schools across America? Because some parents might not know. Teachers can recommend whatever reading material, whether it's approved or not, evidently.
Yes, unfortunately, we hear from stories like this all the time, where rogue teachers are getting away with murder, and that there are no administrators that are actually keeping an eye on what's taking place in classrooms. And so at some point, I think parents rightfully are asking, where does the buck stop? Who is accountable for these decisions? I would encourage, principals to keep an eye on what is going on in classrooms, because they are the ones who are going to have to answer questions from the media and from parents. Superintendents, school boards, who is accountable and who will be responsible for these decisions when bad things happen? We see a lot of passing, trying to pass accountability, and I think families are very rightly frustrated with that.
So ideally, how would parents for these DEI committees be involved when it comes to their child's experience in the classroom?
Right. Well, it's very difficult for families to be involved. I personally am still not allowed to actually enter my children's elementary school because of COVID. And so we're seeing district after district hold families at arm's length. When families ask for book lists or things like that, they're told to file public records requests. And so we are being treated dismissively and disrespectfully by schools. Families, I think, want to be involved. They want to know what's on committees. They want to ask teachers. They want to have a good relationship. And unfortunately, in many instances, it's very, very difficult. And so I think for trust to be restored between families and schools, there needs to be a more open line of communication. That's why I'm so glad that we've seen states start to introduce parent bill of rights, where families have a right to know what's going on. That is the default setting, and that's what it should be, the default setting.
Kyle Lukoff, the author of Call Me Max, told one of our reporters with the National Desk, quote, the letter from the district sends a clear message to all transgender people in the community, children, parents, teachers, friends, as well as their allies, that they are not welcome, which is not a message I believe schools should be sending. What's your thoughts on this author's response? How would you respond to this?
I think this is a book that is written for 5 to 8-year-olds. Let's focus on that again. Why are we talking about sex and planting ideas about transgenderism in children's heads before they know how babies form, right? Why are we planting the ideas about gender stereotypes, about not being comfortable in your own bodies? I mean, we are seeding these ideas and putting these ideas into children's heads where such ideas do not exist to start with. I think that's gross, and I think there are a lot of families that are rightly upset by this. And so this is not a message of being unwelcoming. If a family wants to purchase and read that book for their child, they are welcome. But to do it in a school behind parents' backs, I think, is a betrayal of trust. And I think parents have a right to be upset about that.
And there's a huge contingent of parents in Texas who are very upset when they heard about this going on in their child's classroom. So what should a parent do if they have questions about what's being recommended to read for their child?
Sure. We always tell families, start small. Talk to the teacher. And if you don't get the answer you want, elevate it. Go to the principal, go to the school board, go to the superintendent, but don't take no for an answer. They want to cut you out of this picture. And if you're not getting the answers you want, come to us. We're happy to file a public records request to help you get that information, because you as a parent are entitled to and deserve to know what your child is learning. It doesn't matter what the letter is next to your name. Your politics aside, children do better when families are involved in their children's education. And so you should know so that you can help your child be a better student and thrive in school.
Nicole Neily, always appreciate you joining us here on the National Desk. Have a great day. Thank you.